Welcome to FacingMelsMusic.com podcast, featuring some of the most heartwarming stories from musicians all around the world on FacingMelsMusic.com.
So a very warm welcome to Facing Mel's Music. This is Mel Golding, and I have with me a lyricist for a wonderful metal rock band called Veronica Furman. Welcome. How are you feeling today?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me. Very excited.
Yes, indeed. It's great. It's great stuff. And I heard the song. My goodness, the production is just, the sound is phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
Thank you very much.
I'd love to know more about your involvement with the bands, because you say you're the lyricist. Is that basically as far as you go? Because obviously there's a vocalist, there's other people doing other things. How did that happen? Tell me a bit.
It's a very interesting story. It's actually a fascinating one.
Okay.
You know, I started this project with the idea of bringing metal music to the stage.
Okay.
Because I'm working with dance and I'm producing some stuff for the stage, and with the idea of creating a show of my own writing, which is a musical.
Okay.
I was working with dancers and doing some dance films, and one of the songs that I had written was in German, so I needed a German vocalist.
Right.
And that's how I met Andreas, who is the singer of Geister Deck. And after the production, I was very happy with the results, and I met Andreas, and he told me that he was actually, he could create songs, like write songs especially for my project.
Mm-hmm.
So we said, okay, let's give it a shot. And I commissioned Andreas with 2 metal tracks. Then along came Pascal, who is our multi-instrumentalist and producer.
Right.
So we did the tracks with my own lyrics, and we were all so happy about the results that we said, okay, like, this is really good. I mean, this is commercial, like commercial quality music. And I met with Andreas in Berlin. You know, we met in person for the first time. And we said, okay, let's do this. Let's make an ongoing project out of this,
Right.
and try to release this music commercially.
Okay.
And then what happened was really, really special, because every time I wrote a song, I sent it to him. You know, and it felt like I was kind of writing songs for him to sing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and there was a whole creative process started. And we have a whole lot of songs. We have about 11 at this point, of which 4 of them are released. And okay, so we came up with a name, and this is it.
Yeah.
And now we are trying to, find a way to make it happen. I mean, like, come together artistically and to find an aesthetic that reflects all of our personalities.
Interesting. Right.
Very interesting, because they put a lot of themselves into this music. They put a lot of their own, emotions and knowledge, and they are very, very involved in this project. So it's, even though we don't know each other very well,
Right.
it's music that we're all very attached to.
Yes. Well, I can see why. I can see why. So this is, it's amazing. No, it is fabulous. It's such a great production. It is so polished. It is big. It's full. It's just instrumentally, it's wonderful. And it's very interesting how that came together. And it feels like, how long did that happen? When did it, what on the timeline? When are we talking here?
This is like, it's been so vertiginous. This film, the dance film, was shot on December the 4th last year.
Right.
So all throughout 2023, we have been producing music, and it's been incredibly vertiginous, exciting, and overwhelming.
Yes.
So we have produced music at a rate that's absolutely mad.
Yes, I know. I didn't want to say, but yes, obviously something's working. Clearly,
exactly. I mean, this is like, it's very magical. After years of experience, you realize that these things just don't happen very often. So
no, they don't.
That's why we decided to make it happen, and we're all there.
It's great.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think that these guys are incredibly talented.
Yes, I can see.
It's just, it's very humbling to see how much everybody's working and the way they have taken all of this, into their hearts, really. Yes. So it has a lot to do with what we were meant to discuss today about, psychology and music. I think that this is a very good example of how much emotion an artist brings into their creations, and how attached they become to the production, to the result of their artistic process. So this is a great example of this.
Just want to ask here, while we're talking about this, and just before we go into that psychology bit, which is going to be super juicy talking about this. It's going to be very juicy. Okay. So your vocalist, does your vocalist have a lyrical input in all of this? Because I always find that performers, when it comes to performing your own songs, your own words, there's a certain authenticity that is attached to that, and it really comes out in a performance, and you can see it. It's not to say, actually, if you do sing someone else's song, for example, if they're your lyrics, that they also don't touch you. So what's the situation in terms of lyrically? When you come up, you're the lyricist here. When you write lyrics and you put them across to the vocalist, I imagine that's what you do. What's the kind of process from that perspective? What happens from that moment? Does the vocalist just accept everything it is? Do they input any of their own stuff into this? I mean, what's the process there?
That's a very interesting question. I think this is one of Andreas' many talents. He's very, he puts a lot of himself, and I am very amazed at what he does, from just words to make this into a song. Song, with the sound of a song and the rhythm. And this is all new to me, because all of my life I have just written, just poetry or stories or even novels, but without any music. So it's very interesting how someone can bring the music to the words. And when the singer creates the melody for the words, it's like a melody within the melody. So well, you're a singer, so you know
Yes.
this well.
Yeah.
And well, there are some bits of the words that he emphasizes of what I have written. There are some things that he emphasizes.
Okay.
He doesn't change anything. He
Right.
doesn't change the words.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he will eventually add a verse, or the way he sings it
Mm-hmm.
might come across a bit different to what I have written. But it's because of this transformation.
Mm.
But yeah, he brings a lot to the table.
Right. So that conversion sort of thing from the lyrics to
Exactly.
Okay.
Because,
Yeah.
yeah, I have a very, I don't want to say very big, but I have a background in poetry, and
Yes.
poetry and lyrics are two different things. And when I
Yes.
write, I have the feeling that what I write is a lot like poetry and not always so musical.
Mm-hmm.
So I have the feeling that my lyrics are quite worthy,
Mm-hmm.
like full of words,
Yeah.
a lot of things going on. Like there's a lot that's being said.
Mm-hmm.
So he's very good at, making this make sense
Mm.
and creating the choruses, which in my opinion sound great.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very interesting teamwork
It
that
is,
we
isn't it?
have.
Quite
Yeah,
unique.
yeah,
It's quite
I think
unique.
Thank you. I'm also very surprised. And like I said, this is very new to me. But yeah, I'm very happy with the
Okay.
way he interprets
Yes.
the lyrics.
Okay. And probably, I'm assuming, as a vocalist, what he probably does is he's picking out things that resonate with him and emphasizing that musically. So that is probably the element that's probably pushed forward.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. Interesting. And where do you pull your lyrics from? I mean, we're going to get into talking about your other career here, your training in psychiatry, which is very, very useful, I think, for metal music. They seem to marry up quite nicely.
Absolutely. Well, I'm a big fan of the genre.
Yes.
All the darkness.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Take it to the dark side. Yeah. But where do you pull your lyrics from? I mean, where is this something that's going on for you? Is this personal stuff for you? Are you seeing things? I'm imagining it's reflections, because I also write, so I understand that's how I go on, maybe personal life and reflections. And is that what you do? I mean, you tell me. Or are you interested in the mind? Because I know you are interested in the mind. Obviously, you are.
I am very interested in the mind. Yes, I am. It's quite interesting because it's a combination of things. There is an interest in the mind that's very powerful. I mean, I'm very passionate about the human mind. I'm also very interested in philosophy, not just psychology. I'm very interested in philosophy, because it's the science that led to the creation of psychology as a science. So philosophy is like the mother of psychology in a way. So I'm just passionate about the whole wording of the whole terminology of philosophy. So there's that. I mean, there's this aesthetic appreciation of certain words and the way they come together and the way they sound together. So I read a lot. I
Yep.
do research, but I also read a lot. I read a lot of philosophy. I read a lot about psychology. I read poetry.
Yes.
I do not get inspiration from songs because the song is very easy to digest in the sense that it comes as a package. And your first inclination when you listen to a song is like, okay, I want to write something exactly like this because it's ready.
Yeah.
Like it's ready,
Yeah.
it's done.
Yes. Yes.
On the other hand, when you read something that's like poetry or a text, it's much easier to extract concepts
Yes.
that then you can transform into lyrics, and make them work.
Yes.
So that's my own personal process. And then my own professional background, my own thoughts, my own interests, my own opinions about things, my own sensitivity about what's going on in the world. And the challenge is always to bring those opinions and make them poetic.
Yes, and convey the message.
Exactly, and try to, sneak the message in.
Yes, sneak it in there. Yes.
Well, I personally find it very challenging and also very beautiful.
Yeah.
To be able to hide certain thoughts within the poetic words.
It's okay. So that's the elements of being sort of, it's honesty, isn't it? Really, it's really it's an opportunity to be honest in whatever capacity, however you want to be.
Absolutely. So there are some lyrics come from reflections. Some lyrics come from opinions. It could be political opinions, Of course, that's something that, creates a lot of anger, and anger is just an emotion that one can easily transform into metal songs.
Yes.
Absolutely. And then there are special songs that have to do with personal situations and sometimes, of course, even painful situations. And this is the case of this particular song we're talking about, which is The Pain Within.
Yep.
I think that's a good example of how one can use, emotional suffering to create art.
Yes.
And I think about this very often in the sense that sometimes, quite often, I need to go through a lot of pain to be able to write all of this.
Yep. Okay. Yes, most definitely.
I need to experience it, and sometimes like really, really painful.
Yes. Yep.
When I was younger, this was very primitive. I used to be able to write only when I was going through a hard time and only when I was going through emotional pain. Now that I am, that I have made this into a profession and I'm doing this professionally, I can say, if you may.
Yes.
I mean, but I'm starting to handle this better in the sense that, okay, I'm going to write, or I have this idea, and then I have made this into a more intellectual process. So it's like a mix. There is some emotion, there is some research, there is some, like
yes,
a composition in the mix of things. But when I was younger, I was maybe more primitive.
Yes. Yes.
This could only come out when feelings were very, very raw.
Yeah.
And I'm not so proud about this because I'm not so young. I mean, I'm in my 40s, and I'm only able to handle this now. So it's like,
there's no judgment at all. None.
It's like, okay, I needed to mature to be able to handle all of this.
It's so interesting, though, isn't it? Because it isn't. Yeah, and when you're a kid, you say primitive, yes, because it's just emotions, isn't it? But of course, it's only conditioning comes later, and also this. I think what you're talking about here is you're able to separate and analyze, and so you've got some emotional content, let's say, or personal content in lyric format, and then what you're doing for the professional side is to actually step outside of that, step into another headspace to look at things, I say clinically, but professionally, so that this is going into a song, and then you're putting it into some coherent format, which is going to be presentable to the band, to the singer and the production team as well. So maybe it's an ability you've developed in terms of that, able to handle your emotions now and handle. Yes. And to look at things in another lens, through another lens.
Of course. Yeah. And years of therapy as well.
And years of therapy, probably, yes. Tell us all your background now you're from Argentina, aren't you? Is that right?
I am from Argentina, yes, okay. That's correct.
Right, okay. And you studied there, psychiatry?
I studied medicine, and I specialized in psychiatry, and then I worked a lot with alternative medicine, holistic medicine, and something that's called integrative medicine. Which is the root cause, finding the root cause of illness instead of just focusing on the symptoms. And I have applied this to mental health, and I have worked with nutrition and lifestyle changes, to address certain mental symptoms and disorders or ailments.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting, very fascinating.
Yeah. Are you a practicing psychiatrist now? I mean, are you practicing in the medicine world? Are you?
I am not practicing anymore.
Okay.
Well, when I moved to the UK, I had two options. One of them was to validate my license or to just give it all up and start over again as, a writer and trying to make it, to make it in the entertainment industry. Okay. And I think that having had to give up that degree has allowed me to finally focus on producing and doing what I really wanted to do.
Okay.
It's not that I wasn't passionate about my job. I really liked it. I think it's a very rewarding profession, but it was always this huge backup that I would go to when things went wrong. It's like, okay, I wrote a book and I'm not getting it published. And then, well, it doesn't really matter because I am a doctor and I can always work. And this is what I'm doing and this is who I am. And it was, the huge responsibility of being this example of integrity for people who were really, really suffering. And it's very difficult to handle the exposure of an artist when you're taking care of people who are in pain. It's like a big responsibility. So that was an obstacle.
Right.
Was working.
Okay.
So I have always been very eccentric. So
okay.
it was difficult, I think, for patients to come to someone who is like that.
Okay.
You can resonate because you're more empathetic to them.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's like,
Mm-hmm.
who's the protagonist in this situation? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
being too outspoken and too honest and too.
Okay.
So I think that
Yeah.
this is who I am. I have always wanted to be the person that I am now, I think.
Well, that's wonderful. That's great. That's being authentic. That's authentic. That's honoring.
Yeah, totally. That's
Totally.
the truth,
Yes.
And I have suffered because of this, because I felt really, really responsible for what I was doing. It's not an easy task.
You're responsible for patients or clients, however you say it.
Yeah, I
yes.
call them patients.
Patients, and yes.
Patients.
Okay. Right. Okay. And this seemed like it was quite a heavy. And it is. I mean, I'm a therapist.
It was a heavy burden, and I think that it's not a coincidence. Yes. At first, I was, working with creatives and artists. You see their pain. You see what's going on. You see how easily you could just orient them or tell them, you're going through this, or this is what's happening, or this would help you. It took me a while to detach from people's suffering and from trying to get involved in somebody else's life.
Right. Okay.
And trying to solve and save everybody from what they were feeling or going through.
Yes.
So
yes.
Now that I don't try
to
intervene or interfere in any way, I think I'm at peace.
Yes. Okay. So this is about your mental health too. Because
100%.
Yes. Okay. Right. And it's important to look after your mental health. And that's part of ethics as well, isn't it? Because it feels
Absolutely.
Feels like you are looking after patients ethically by even removing yourself from the scene, let's say, if it becomes a little bit too overwhelming. And that is
Yeah, and it's also exactly, it's an ethical it's an ethical situation, because if you put yourself in that position, you're automatically in power. It's like you're empowered because you have the knowledge that leaves the other person feeling vulnerable, and that it just doesn't work when you're trying to collaborate with someone.
Right.
Even though it's like I don't lose respect for people when I know that they are suffering. It is like that. It is like a hierarchy of power, actually.
Yeah.
So if I don't get involved, or if I get as involved as any other coworker would be, I feel that's healthier for everybody.
Right. Yeah.
And I have also come across situations in which, for example, somebody was having a hard time, say, I don't know, a creative, and I have found that just by giving somebody an opportunity to create and to show their work, you're doing a lot for that. Because as a medic, I have worked with patients who were creatives or who were artists but had no talent. And the absence of talent when someone is passionate about art can be a problem.
Yep.
And it's a problem that has to be dealt with, because there are limitations, and maybe this person can only perform to a certain level, or maybe they can just perform to a community level, and that would be a lot. That would be rewarding, but maybe they won't make it.
Yes, yeah. You're talking about the standards, and I know what you're saying.
So and that's truly important because in my short experience with artists here in England or maybe in Germany, the case is not that they don't have talent. I mean, it's quite the opposite. They are incredibly talented, and that's a lot. And many times I have observed how important it is just to give an opportunity, how meaningful it is, and how it's like I have watched them thrive. Maybe with choreographers or dancers with whom I have worked here in the UK, people who had no opportunities, and suddenly, because somebody believed in them, and you're telling them how good they are, it's just a world of difference for them.
It is.
They're suddenly thriving, and and it's even
it is. It's
much better than a therapy. Like I've seen, like I haven't. It amazes me because I haven't said anything. Like we haven't
that's right.
about anything. You know, from a psychological point of view. But this opportunity has made a huge difference in their lives, and that's also very rewarding.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I'm only very, very, very well aware of all of that, and people who are striving to make it. Of course, you talk about the absence of talent as well, which is something that needs to be looked at as well. How do you deal with that? And it's with limitations. It's all of these things, and the effects of it's mental health, isn't it? At the end of the day, with how it affects their mental health as they're trying to strive to achieve their goals. So this is what you're kind of talking about, and this is definitely a huge area of interest that I have with performing artists. Bearing in mind, I'm an artist as well, and I've been through a long road to get here. And so I think you used the word empathetic. So it's empathy, isn't it? And it feels like, let's get back to you for a little bit here. I mean, your road, your journey, your own personal journey, your own life, your sense of empathy and your ability to actually work with people on this level. I mean, is this something you identify with? Have you identified with some of your patients in some ways? Have things been brought up for you? And I'm imagining that potentially they have. If you're writing such strong lyrics, this must be being pulled out from a place from deep within. What was early life for you like? How was it on the road in terms of, with your career, with becoming a medic or lyricist? What was it like for you? Did you have hardships growing up until you started?
I used to write poetry as a kid. I was like this poetic prodigy at school, and all the teachers were always so proud of me and always telling me how good I was. And then, funnily, I ended up studying medicine. It's not a coincidence. My father was a doctor. He was very passionate about his work. I am the second of 3 siblings. My siblings are both medics.
Right.
My older sister, with whom I was very, very close growing up, went on to study medicine, and she got a lot of attention from my parents. And I felt that, if I didn't follow in her footsteps, then I wouldn't get as much attention and recognition, and that was a problem. There is a genuine, and there always was a genuine interest in the human mind, and this is something my father used to tell me a lot. Like, you will always have something to write about if you're a doctor, and he was absolutely right. The thing is that going through medical school was very, very long and very, very difficult. And I had to sit all of the exams. And I used to feel that I didn't belong there. So it was very difficult for me. I used to go to the library before class to just be able to read the authors that I wanted to read. I mean, back then, of course, I loved music, but the idea of ever having a musical project never entered my mind. So there was a lot of suffering for me that had to do with the context I was in.
Yes.
And I was always very alone.
I was sensing that.
Yeah. And now, well, of course, the writing it's a lonely process, but I enjoy it. And the possibility to share it with other creatives is just amazing. And for me, it feels like right. And having created this music, for me, it's every time somebody listens to this music, they're actually listening to something that I have written.
Yeah, wonderful.
That's just,
it's amazing.
That's what you want.
Yeah. You found the balance. You found the outlet. You found it feels it's taken all this time to get here.
It was so painful. It's like I'm very, every now and then I say, okay, but all these years, like all these years.
Yeah.
But no, forget it. I don't want to think about it.
Wipe that out, chuck that out the window. Yeah. We are where we are now.
I have also been, I've had my moments. And for a while, I was also very depressed because not being able to create, not being able to get your stuff across.
Yeah.
And not finding what you wanted to create, because I was writing, but maybe that I was writing something that I didn't want to write.
Well, that's interesting.
Very interesting.
Yes, that's interesting. That's coming. Okay, that's lots and lots of reflections. That requires a lot of self-reflection, lots of and I'm sure you've gone through all of this. It sounds like you have, but it feels like you've really come to a point now that you found some, I say, happiness, some contentment, some level of success, some feeling of peace. Would you say inner peace within you, that you are doing what you want to do, and it's in a format that you never imagined before in this way? It's
exactly,
lyrics, but it's now with music, right?
Exactly. And it has a lot to do with the context. Right. It has to do with the context. I mean, a lot of my inspiration has come from the dance world, and I have, only met these dancers out of coincidence.
Wow.
But I found myself just writing for them and creating concepts for them to dance and using them as my muses. So it's like, yeah, I think I have found my place in the world. I think, yeah.
Well, that sounds very successful to me. It sounds great.
Yeah, well, yeah. If you think about success as a certain degree of well-being, then yes.
Yes. Yeah. In terms of well-being. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And authenticity and feeling happy, contented, at peace, all of this. The other success is to see it actually happen and to generate a lot of interest and to get followers and obviously this is the stage you're at now. So it feels like you're on your way, you know. I mean, what are the plans for the band now? I mean, what is it you've actually, have you put an album together yet? Has it actually come to an album now?
we have an EP.
You have an EP, okay.
We have released an EP, and we have 2 music videos that are out there available. One of them, Circus, has won many awards.
I've seen it.
We have an award for the best music video at
Mm-hmm.
a dance festival in Amsterdam. In the same festival, I got the award to the first time director.
Right.
You know,
Great.
everything together.
Yes.
Everything at the same time.
Well, yes, it's always that way, isn't it?
Exactly. And the video is very interesting because it goes through this,
yes,
the topic of the lack of talent. I mean, and the need
right
to show our work.
I saw the video.
How an artist feels the need to show the work
Yes,
to other people.
Yeah,
so that's very, very important.
Yes. Yeah, it's around love and approval. Would you say? Because I've written around this.
Of course. Artists feel the need of approval, of recognition.
Yep.
And that's wonderful because that can happen within an artistic community. I mean, the recognition can always come from another creative. Like I see you. I see how talented you are. I see how good you are. It doesn't matter. Because out there, it takes a lot of courage to take a piece of work and get it out there and face the scrutiny, face criticism, the competition, the comparison.
Yeah.
Takes a lot of courage. So back to our project, we have released our first EP, and now we're going to release a second EP with all the songs of this new wave within our project that has to do with these creative forces coming together and working in sync.
Wonderful.
Like the 3 of us working in sync and finding a sound, finding an identity, finding a way to make it work. It's a rather unusual project, but it reflects how a musician can get very attached, like personally attached to their creations, even if it's about a commissioned project. This started out as commissioned music, but now it's like it's a genuine project, and that's what I really wanted, to be able to bring that to the stage. So we have our second EP coming.
Right.
We have a trilogy of music videos that's about skateboarding. We have 3 songs that go through the skateboarding subculture.
Okay. That sounds great.
Yeah, very exciting. And then we have a project to create a live show.
Okay.
It would also be very unusual, very, very
Yes.
different. So it would be like a mix of
Yeah.
a rock concert and performing arts.
Great. Veronica, it sounds really, really, really exciting. It's been
So
absolutely amazing. It's amazing speaking with you and listening to your story and how and where you're at now and what's to come next. I can't wait to hear what's coming next. And it just, I wish you the very, very best of luck. I think it's going to be a great success. I really do. I mean, I think it's unique.
Thank you very much.
It's authentic. And I love the fact that it's very collaborative and there's so much respect there, just in that whole message for room for me, room for you. And that's wonderful. And to try and fuse and come together to create something that is actually unique and becomes one in essence, which is
absolutely
there's a part of the, and that's what you're talking about, the ego. You're talking about the ego letting go of some of that whole my way or the highway sort of thing. It's about stepping back and allowing others in. And I think that's what you're talking about here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I have met Pascal, our guitarist, an instrumentalist, for the first time last week.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, after having created
amazing.
It was like
all of this.
Like I've been through all of this.
Incredible.
And I have never set eyes on you. So yeah, it was like very, very intense, very, very nice. And we were talking about how difficult it is for them to make a band work.
Yeah.
Because all of these traits, like personality traits of the musician come together, like the ego. And sometimes, they can be quarrelsome and critical. Yeah. And easily frustrated. And also negative. So it's very difficult for them to make the classical concept of the band work.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like the band we used to know when we were a kid. The band that got together in the garage to rehearse, the dream band. It's no longer possible because of all of this. Yeah. It's so difficult to sustain.
Yes. Yeah.
All of these emotions, all of these complex, different personalities, bring them together, make them coexist in a way and find happiness. I think that for me, I am willing to relinquish to an ego trip in order to have something.
Well,
we have something special going on. I think that there is an interesting chemistry here going on.
Yes.
And it doesn't happen very often.
No.
We all want to preserve what we have created. Nobody wants to give it up. And we're going to do our best to make it work.
Yeah. It feels great, and it feels like you're talking about reaching a higher plane of existence, which is above the ego. You're going beyond this now.
Oh yeah,
so
totally.
You're rising above that, and that is absolutely wonderful. That is a great place to be. And honestly, the very best of luck, Veronica. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's been amazing, and anytime.
Definitely, we'll be speaking again. Definitely.
Oh yeah, we'll be in touch.
All right.
Weekend.
Yes, absolutely.
Read about it in magazines. The new